second play day or match of this play day. I think a lot of people going to that expect DZ to take the win.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see when that match comes up, but we have a map veto system for you. You can see it on the bottom of your screen. Bank and Cafe Dostoevsky are crossed out. These teams have their set bans that they like. TSM has only played 3 maps so far this entire season. So where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go to Coastline. TSM has not played on Coastline this season at all. They have not played on Border. They've not played on Clubhouse. They've not played on Coastline. They've not played on Cafe. So over half of the map pool, we haven't seen anything from TSM. Coastline is a very frag-heavy map. TSM is a very frag-heavy team. They are extremely aggressive. Space Station is extremely patient. How are these teams going to mix up in this matchup? It's going to be fascinating to watch because we did see SSG play on Coastline, and they didn't do too poorly.
Yeah.
They're a very good team on Coastline, at least in comparison to some of their peers. So there's some speculation here that I think you can throw into the mix and say, is TSM going to be as powerful as they've looked so far? Because I think TSM started off strong, but then they've kind of regressed a little bit over the next couple weeks, whereas Space Station's been very consistent.
Yeah, Space Station's been consistent. There's been, like I said, a few trips there, here and there, but they are a team that I think a lot of players and viewers expect to do really well in their Pro League matches. But what do you guys think? Who's going to win this match? Why don't you just go ahead and tell us?
I'm not going to be surprised by this at all. 52% TSM, 35% for Space Station, and 13% want a draw. Well, unsurprising to see the draw so high given the fact that Space Station is in this matchup. Usually they draw. Or at least they used to draw a lot.
They have a tendency to draw in their past. It's a bit of a meme if you're not familiar. They had one season where it got like 6 draws, which was crazy high.
And my BR also drew a lot that one. I think it was the same season.
Maybe.
They had like 4 or 5 or 6 draws, yeah.
It's entirely possible. But yeah, I mean, having a Space Station means that there's a high probability of a draw, as the memes have taught us. So yeah, going into the actual map analysis here, you're right. There's actually no real relevant information on TSM when it comes to Coastline, other than they ban Coastline a lot. Yeah. Like, that's just a thing. TSM has never had Coastline banned against them. They always ban it themselves whenever possible, except for, I guess, today. Yeah. And interestingly, if you look at Space Station, they also ban Coastline a lot. It's actually Space Station's most banned map right now. It's going into the double digits at 10 bans, which is pretty crazy. But when SSG gets brought to Coastline, they tend to win it. Yeah. So that's, with 6 recently played in the last few months, they won 4 of those Coastline plays.
Coastline is actually a very highly banned map. If you go and you look through the entire season, I before this matchup, I actually wrote out, because I find writing is very cathartic, right? You have the tablet, you write on it with the pen. There's something to me about like pen and paper that just helps me organize my thoughts, and I'm sure there's probably lots of people here that are listening and that can relate to that. But I physically was writing out all the different bans and all that jazz, and I was like, man, people do not like playing Coastline. I have like Bank and Coastline are 2 maps that you don't see all that often. They are very heavy bans for a lot of teams.
Yes, Coastline is a kind of I like to use the word less than I often do, but polarizing map. It's the type of map where you really you love it or you hate it, and it's a type of play style that only really works with certain types of players. And those are the ones that can confidently peek something and win the gunfight from the first try. And I mean really, truly confident players, and that leads into confident squads. We've seen some of the greatest victories in Coastline history, like Empire's win on Coastline that got them, I think in Raleigh Major, where they got this momentous win, and it was because they were just peeking everything and they were winning their gunfights. And it was the confidence bleeding through for that squad, and it's what I think makes that map be so hard to work into your everyday, to work into your practice, because you can often, as a player, you could just wake up one day and you could just not be feeling it. Yeah. And on some different maps, not Coastline, you can compensate for that by playing in a particular way that makes you safer, less easy to be punished by the enemy who might be able to capitalize on your lack of confidence. But not Coastline. Coastline, you need to be there. You need to be present. You need to always be landing your shots, and it's a different kind of map just for that alone.
I think it shares a lot of similarities with Border in the fact that they're both very unpredictable when it comes to aggressiveness and the way it plays. Of course, Border tends to have more of a rhythm because you have to deal with hard destruction, which is something that is not required on Coastline. Coastline is the single map that's in the map pool right now that you can reliably play all 12 rounds without a single hard breacher appearing even once. Some teams will run a Hibana. You almost never see a Thermite because Hibana's, for the most part, got better fragging potential, but additionally, the way that you want to use a Hibana He's either going to be on the it's going to be on the kitchen walls. It could possibly be on the cocktail walls upstairs, or as North America likes to call it, or a lot of North American players like to call it, as pink. I know that we will have this discussion again, I'm sure, at some point when we cast Coastline, but
hey, it's not me who brings it up every time.
Merc, who's actually
it's actually you who brings it up every time, and he says
because I'm justified.
Exactly what he's about to say.
Okay.
Every time.
Because Merc and the rest of TSM backed me up. They vouched for me, and they said that it was pink, Michael.
You know, there's this interesting conversation going on with Oregon right now, where flag and versus split, and most of NA calls it split. Most of EU calls it flag. There are differing opinions, and this. Welcome to my life, by the way.
Well, it's like it's bunker. It's the whole bunker versus half wall. Conversation in Border is that bunker is the little half wall on the other side of the armory wall, but then other people call that half wall over by the wall that leads into archives. So enjoy.
This is why I'm doing the call-out thing, so that we can present both of those, and then people can vote, and then whichever one is more of more of the consensus, then we'll use that one, and it'll be officialized, and we can move on with our lives. Anyway, so Space Station versus TSM, ban phase beginning. Capitao and Habana gotten rid of. So
Habana being banned.
That means
and it's Space Station who banned it. So we haven't seen TSM play Coastline this season, and yet TSM is the one, or Space Station is the one that's banning Habana against TSM. So I would imagine that they know something about the way that TSM played this map, maybe in scrims. If these two teams have scrimmed each other and they saw that on Coastline when they played it, TSM was repeatedly bringing Habana. That's a smart ban, but it is kind of strange for Space Station and something to address with them should they prevail.
Yeah, it is an interesting pick. I mean, all of the bans here are kind of interesting. The Valkyrie one makes the most sense. The Maestro over an Echo, though, is the one thing I'm a little bit confused about, because usually when a Valkyrie's banned, what you would do then is you would bring a Maestro, so you would ban an Echo so that you don't have to bring IQ. Because you can always bring IQ, sure, like she's useful for other things, but if you get rid of Valkyrie and Echo, she's no longer essential. So usually people get that out of the way, but not so here with TSM. They really wanted to get rid of the Maestro, which is going to even the load, I guess, between IQ and the soft destructors like Sophia or Ashe or whichever you're deciding to bring. But I don't know. It's just a curious kind of split thought there. TSM clearly don't like the Maestro, though. There is something to be said about the Alda, of course, and Space Station's proficiency with that Alda. They've actually historically got a lot of different players who can rotate onto the gun and just tear people apart. So that could be a targeted ban for that. The Habana ban, for me, just screams, when we're playing on billiards, we want to be comfortable. There's also the fact that TSM have brought Amira since she's not banned. We always talk about how Mira is such a powerful operator on this map. It's one of her best maps. It's because most of the real estate, most of the ground that you can place a Mira window on is disposable. And one of the best places to put a mirror window is somewhere that is disposable, somewhere that you don't need to hold for the entirety of the round or lose the match. Not all, mind you, but a lot of the places. Like, for example, above, that's disposable. Below, where Pojo put the second one, not so.
I suspect that Merc went for a spawn peek, as you were talking about this, because he's taken some damage, and that's been about it. And I mean, if you're starting Coastline off with a spawn peek from Merc, you know he's feeling one.
He didn't land any shots, but, I mean, the fact that he's got, like I talked about, the confidence to go for it, that speaks volumes.
Yeah. God, how long has it been since we've seen, like, any reliable Mira play on this map? Ages, I feel like. Yeah.
I mean, you scope that out to reliable Mira play, period, and ages still.
Yes.
We don't see it. It just doesn't happen because teams aren't practicing Mira anymore, and more importantly, I'd say the meta's in a state right now where she is just kind of not as good. But
especially on this map, right? And a lot of teams don't run her because there is so much ample soft destruction.
Well, this is one of her best maps in my opinion because of that same thing, though. Because like, if you use a mirror window in a throwaway tactic, like just to slow things down, I think that's her best position in this meta. In our current meta, you don't want to use mirror windows to hold, positions you must hold as a defender, because then when you lose it, then it's harder to hold that position. And again, in our current meta, I think that just makes the most sense to use them how we're seeing TSM using them right now.
There's been much of a hunt now on the roamers for TSM, as we know that they're on the second floor playing not too far off. And while Achieved is going to find Canadian, goodbye to the Dokkaebi. The logic bombs will still continue, but that'll be it. Opening pick to TSM, and Achieved immediately falls off that second floor, heads back down. Because there's a Mozzie and because there's a Vigil on the board, this might make droning for Space Station a significant headache, and there's a possibility they don't know that they've got complete control of that second floor.
Now, I mean, they're making pretty decent efficiency, but you could see that you're right there. They're just doing a little bit of droning, just double checking, being sure. Bolo's actually in a position where he might want to push up these cool vibes or blue stairs, depending on what you want to call it. He's been spotted out, though. Rampy, aware of Bolo's position and trying to get into his position of his own to punish. There's only 30 seconds left, mind you, so there's not a lot of opportunity here for SSG to pounce on the site. They're going to get the first kills. Rampy drops over by the couch, and he'll get Pojo Man, but he's been down in response. Faults from the hallway will get one. Achieved finishing off Rampy, who was down earlier by Bolo. In Garden is Faults, and he's eliminated by Merc. 3 for Achieved. He's going big in this round, and by default plan is Bosco, but he's really not going to be able to get that diffuser down. So he's going for a rush for kills. TSM lock it up, and they take round number 1.
There was a Yokai drone that was very clearly inside of the site with Valkyrie being banned and Maestro being banned. The only ways that those marks that are coming in from that Yokai drone, because there are no default cams, of course, in Sunrise, and Bosco knew that. As the IQ, I mean, you do have a gadget that can help you find the Yokais, but there's 3 members of TSM up. You're not going to pull your gadget out in the final seconds. Really, the roam from TSM was enabled perfectly well by their setup. They invested that 1 mirror window up top, which meant that you can't really push through Aqua the way you want to, which renders any push from Pink, or Cocktail if you want to call it, and Billiards completely useless. You can't really do much vertical pressure onto that mirror because it's right in the middle of the site. You're not going to go down to Sunrise Bar and buck underneath it because you can't do that until everybody else is dead. So you have to go in from Penthouse, you have to clear from that direction. And because of the way that the pests were laid, and because of the fact that it was a Vigil up top roaming, in addition to a Jaeger who was there, who might have even been simply bait to try and draw you in, while Merc wasted a lot of time on that Vigil, Space Station did not have the information to be able to capitalize on a good entry and a good roam clear. And then from there, it just really snowballed. You lose your Dokkaebi, who is probably one of your best operators at being able to figure out the location of the roamers because of the logic bombs. You had how much? 1 minute and 20 seconds left when the first casualty occurred?
About that, yeah.
And then you have to go back onto drones because presumably Achieved wasn't droned out in the first place, so you don't have the knowledge of where TSM is, and now you have to try to find it yet again, and what's your drone state at? What's your drone economy at that point?
Another point is that Dokkaebi was the first one to die.
Yes.
So clearing out the roamers made even more difficult because the phone calls are no longer there. I mean, that's why they brought Canadian Dokkaebi in the first place. It's so useful to isolate your targets above. Space Station had a pretty good time clearing out that top floor, I gotta say, but it just, in the end, wasn't proficient enough. I gotta say, I honestly don't remember who I had for this match, because this is the type of match that is just gonna be, it just looks so close on paper. A lot of people hyping up TSM right now, and after that last round, I guess you could say rightfully so, but it's only 1 round in. Thinking Nate using an EMP to get rid of Legion traps, potential pre-placed C4s, just anything that he's worried about. There's a Yokai drone on the windowsill, or not window, but rather door frame in the hallway there. Whether or not Thinking Nate notices it. The Mozzie pests are slowing things up considerably here for SSG. We've talked a lot about Mozzie in recent times and how relevant he's become in the meta. His ability to slow down a drone is, and by slowing down the drone, by extension, slow down an entire take, is just crazy high when you compare it to the operators like Mute, who don't have that same ability. I mean, Mute's gonna slow you down, really, but Mozzie will stop you. And that's what's happening right now. Merc is single-handedly, well, I guess not single-handedly, Merc and Bolo are holding up this push from Luggage effectively.
And Bosco can't drone out either of them. You just saw the pest right there. And when people talk about Mozzie's potential is how much of a nuisance he is, you've got a Vigil playing on White Stairs who's already a pain to drone. You've got a Pest denying your drone from going into that direction. Then you've got a Mozzie holding the cross all the way over on 90.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What's the
other
plan?
than literally face check it, in which case you go to take the fight against the Vigil. At best, you kill the Vigil and are immediately traded off by the Mozzie who's watching the same angle. It is a fool's errand for Bosco to try to take this engagement. All the while, TSM will get the opening pick on the Fultz, and then will lose a lot of bodies. SSG falling across the board, and TSM will pick up 3 kills. After that opening death, they bounce back.
In a big way. Thinking Nate, playing in the hallway. Sees Merc, will lay in some shots, but no headshot means Merc just walks away from that engagement. He knows he has control of the projector hull, so he's just gonna leave. Doesn't need to pressure that at all. Reminder, this is a kitchen defense, as you can see. And that might not be obvious, considering most of these engagements have been upstairs. And there's another one for Merc, his second in the round. Canadian, the first to die in the last round, the last to die in this one, and the record consistent for TSM, 2-0.
Almost a flawless round. Achieved was the only person who gave up his life. That was it. Geo on that anchor role, working very effectively alongside Pojo Man 2 times on Echo. That'll give information to the rest of his team, but I mean, Echo wasn't even really a factor. That whole round was almost won on that second floor by the Vigil Mozzie combo that was working on the stairs. Extremely effective and very clean, and obviously very frustrating for Space Station. Exceptionally frustrating. Need we go over it again? That single pest held up Space Station from being able to drone. Where's their other drone going to come from? They can't drone out Penthouse Theater because that's where Achieved is lying. You can't drone out 90 because that's where Merc is playing. So any drones that you need to get towards that main staircase are not going to get there unless you drone out security on the bottom floor, which could take an extra 20 to 30 seconds. And most of the teams aren't necessarally looking to drone there. They're trying to drone out the second floor, which is where they're pressing in from.
You know, I think the real issue, Parker, is a couple things. It's 2 things for me. Number 1 is layers.
Okay.
So the layers, for example, Mutant, Mozzie, Vigil, just anything that's going to inhibit you droning.
Yes.
Right? But number 2, and this is in my mind actually somewhat more important, it's map design. I think about how a Mozzie interacts with the game. Think about what he does. He just creates a sphere where you cannot drone. So I want you to zoom your head out here like we're seeing the top down on the map. And I want you to think about, imagine what you can do with 3 of those spheres where you just prevent droning. Just full stop, no droning there until the problem is dealt with. That creates such an issue for you as an attacker when you've got a smart Mozzie. And of course, all of these players in Pro League who are going to be bringing Mozzie are smart because they can just cut away parts of the map that you're able to drone. Just it's gone. You can't do anything about it until you actually get there, and that slows down everything for you as an attacker. That's what makes Mozzie so powerful. It's partially the layers, it's partially the map design. I mean, like, for example, in that last situation, if there was a drone hole next to the luggage door, not so much of a problem, right? But there's not. The best he could have hoped for is to drop into Garden, go into the main lobby, and come up the stairs. But then it gets shot by the Vigil, who's also invisible. The layers. Anyway, that's just a discussion for another time. For right now, Space Station struggling, down 0-2. TSM looking pretty strong.
First engagement is Rampy versus Merc, or Bolo rather. I was actually anticipating it would be Merc, but I mixed them up. Merc is still here and ready to engage. Is he on drone though? That's the real question. Rampy goes back onto drone and he's so close.
Oh, he doesn't spot him.
He looks the wrong way. So he doesn't see the Jaeger.
Wow. He's still, I don't think he...
He might have gotten it if he's still on the drone.
Right at the end, he might have, yeah. But I don't think so, no, because he went to Skeleton Key right after. He likely wouldn't have had he spotted Merc. I think Merc has somehow managed to avoid detection.
Are you sure?
No, I was wrong.
Are you sure Merc's not playing Vigil? Maybe he just, you know... Does Jaeger have cloaking devices? First pick goes to Rampy and to SSG.
So it's clearly incorrect there. He had been spotted out. Just a little bit of patience on Rampy's side. Patience on both players' sides, but Merc was unaware of his detection. Here comes the EMPs into the site to try and clear out anything that can be cleared out from SSG.
And see, there's a reluctance from Space Station to take fights against a team like TSM. I can understand why. They lose another piece of their roster, and now Bolo's gone as well. So Space Station, that reluctance is still paying off. Geo swings on down, connects onto the buck of Rampy, takes out the drone, now looks towards over in the hookah wall, and, well, he's gone. He was the only one on his team that would have been able to do anything, and it won't be very much. 1 kill is all he gets. Space Station will take their very first round.
So we get a match here, Parker, as SSG not only get their first round, but do it in a big way. A full 5-man roster up there. I believe that was, close to flawless. Rather, 4 people still alive. So a little correction there. Geo got one at the end. But no chance for him to win it. Good execution there from SSG. They had everything covered. That's the beauty of it. TSM were looking to poke holes in the attack, especially downstairs, prodding the clear underneath from SSG, and TSM hit brick wall. 2 people down underneath, and then meanwhile the players from below are applying a lot of pressure to the anchors. Hookah is isolated, while the rest of the anchors try to regain control of Hookah. They all lose their lives. We didn't even see that part because too much action going on downstairs, but we know what was happening clearly by the way that SSG was executing. Across the board, great execution there from SSG. TSM leaving themselves a little bit exposed, but you know, honestly, I can't fault them for their playstyle there, as that is typical Coastline. Just the timing was off for TSM. The coverage was great for SSG. Yeah. You can see by the percentages in the bottom left corner that Coastline is a well-balanced map. Compare it to other maps in Rainbow Six or in Pro League in specific. Cafe, for example, has about a 60% win rate for the defensive side. So a strong contrast. And on this side, you've got almost close to 50-50, which is pretty awesome. So one of the reasons why a lot of people like Coastline is that it is well balanced. Mostly comes down to your ability as a player and your team's greater ability as a squad. But yeah, just a small little tidbit there. TSM still looking solid, despite having a bad round in the last. SSG showing that they came here to play. I'd like to see that.
It's back to the double bars, the first site that was played in this matchup, and TSM's starting point for the victory that they had on that round. The echo of Geo is droned out down in kitchen, and he's vulnerable on his drone. I don't know if somebody's going to be able to do much with this. Fultz's drone is lost in kitchen, so Geo very likely got off of his yokais and then, well, spotted the drone and shot it.
Yep.
Keep in mind, we literally call it the drone economy for a reason. And that's because, especially with operators such as Vigil, Mozzie, and Mute, seeing a much higher amount of play.
Oh, you didn't get it. It must be somewhere indestructible. Sorry.
Could possibly be.
Yeah.
It depends on where it is in the roof.
We don't know.
Could be on a beam, yeah. It's tough to tell from our perspective if it's something you can do, but Fultz opens up the wall inside of Hookah. And he sees the Jaeger peek and then drop. This is exactly what Achieved did in round number 1, but Achieved was able to take Canadian with him in the process.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still an effective roam clear tactic there from Fultz. So, and this time there was nobody lost, which is big. The mirror window paying off in that it costs some utility to SSG. I think that was the overall goal there for Pojoman and TSM. They just wanted to waste utility, waste time upstairs, and the fact that Achieve got away with his life is pretty monumental for the defensive side. They'll be able to hold out a lot easier with an extra gun on board.
I don't even know if SSG has fully cleared out that second floor yet. It's so hard to tell, and especially when you They have now.
Yeah.
What are they able to do with it? Well, they've got control of Hookah. The only player that was really holding that second floor, Achieve, dropped much earlier, as we got to see, and Merc got back down towards the site. He's going to sit in lobby, and of course, Canadian sees the mirror of Pojoman, but holds trigger for now. Great discipline.
Yeah, that's very smart from Canadian. He's only got 11 bullets, but that's enough to get 1 kill. He knows that if he reloads, he'll give away his position by the sound cue. Oh, but an opportunity missed. What a weird sidestep there from Pojo. You can't really blame Canadian for that, I guess, but you know, it is still unlucky, and SSG will have a harder time now.
I would suspect that Canadian was likely making calls. No pre-fire potential onto a second target as Canadian takes Pojoman out, and that's the very first kill. 20 seconds left on the clock. SSG gets the opening salvo. Merc finds one inside of the main lobby. That's thinking nade. He's gone back to a 4v4, and Merc will head in towards the site. Is there somebody on Hookah Vibes that they can, or Cool Vibe Stairs that they can really deal with here? No. Geo takes down Fultz, and SSG gets the diffuser down. First objective play that we've seen. Shots through the wall, not connecting. Bolo trapped down inside of Sunrise as Rampy eliminates Geo, and another from TSM goes down as well. So SSG with the lead. It will grow as Bolo is determined to be good as dead. That's a nice shot from Rampy as he pops up through the vase, and we got ourselves a ball game, Michael, as you said. 2-2.
Yep. Respect being paid there from Fultz. Nice. Good to see that. So that last round, the execution from SSG was clear and simple. Clear out upstairs, once we have top floor dealt with, a little bit of soft destruction, force the anchors away from Sunrise Bar. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why isn't there anybody on the defense playing in Sunrise to deny a plant like the one we just saw? Well, the answer is what I just mentioned. the top floor control. Rampy doing a great job with the Buck Skeleton Key and opening up above Sunrise Bar, pushing the anchors out of the site and away from the denial spots, away from anywhere that's going to stop the plant from going down from Canadian. Another question that I'm sure is going to be popular is, what happened to the yokai drones? The answer, IQ. And another thing, a lot of those yokai drones from Geo were being used to support the roam, so they might not even have been near the site if they were available to Geo. But through and through, the thing that we keep coming back to is Space Station Gaming. Really excellent attack, I gotta say. Very thorough. Everything accounted for, and yeah, it came down to the last 10 seconds before we started seeing the plant attempt, but SSG got that plant, and that's all that really matters in the end. TSM having trouble denying the objective play on the site because they were forced so far away from SSG thanks to that skeleton key above. Now TSM's going to try something a little bit different. They're going to go to kitchen. They're going to roam over in the penthouse by the projector or media room or whatever you want to call it. There's an abundance of calls for that one. Again, it's really interesting to see the Mira constantly being brought out. It's almost like a throwback. And yet, we have yet to see that Mira actually make a difference. Not one round has the Mira been relevant thus far through this match. Many of the engagements coming out have actually been in the, kind of around the Mira, but none of them using the Mira. It's kind of weird. Rampy shooting a drone there. That might have been a hacked drone. We do have Mozzie in play, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really pay attention before I saw it.
I'm glad you made a comment about that Mira, because I was going to weigh in on that as well. Maybe not with the same confidence, because, analysis is not really my forte, as it is yours.
We've seen engagements around it, just none on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how strong the Mira has honestly been. I think that it's providing usage, but at the same time, not that I'm going to recommend another operator here for them, but it hasn't really been a big factor. Pojo hasn't really been a big factor. There's been no C4 that's really been needed from the Mira.
I'm not gonna out and say that the Mira's a bad pick. I'm just saying that it's
say it.
Well, no, I'm just
intend it.
It's rigid, all right, and it hasn't been directly benefiting TSM other than to eat up Space Station's time and utility. And if that's what you're betting on, if that's what you want, if you're TSM, then fine, do it. Like, that's perfectly okay. It's the same reason you bring a castle, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just an interesting little tidbit to know.
You think it's SSG playing better around it, or do you just think that it's this map and the TSM obviously not using it the best that they could?
I think it's partially SSG. Yeah, they're really well circumventing that Mira window. Yeah. In every situation where it pops up, they decide to come at it from the side.
Now, you may wonder why we've been taking so much time to dive into something as maybe minuscule as a Mira window or Mira's play, and that's because there really hasn't been all that much action. There's under a minute left in the round. Then Space Station's entry through the main lobby is confronting a Mira window, so it's particularly relevant in this case. But the push from at least two members of Space Station appears to be heading on in through delivery and service. That's the IQ going to be doing some damage with the Zofia side by side. Run out potential from both Merc and Achieved. Above, they'll break the window and drop like an anvil onto the heads of Space Station.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't a Claymore there, though.
I believe we saw one actually get set up, so it will be, if you can land your shots before you hit the ground, there is indeed a Claymore. If you can land your shots before you hit the ground, well, you'll be able to take one down. There's an air jab there, too, for added measure. Pojo Man gets stunned out inside of B, and they're just going to run right on in. Space Station with 2 kills. They're looking to take the lead. Oh, one gunfight from Fultz. That's inhuman aim. It's all on Achieved's shoulders, and he'll down one. But Fultz, in particular, absolutely dominates that round. 3 rounds in a row for Space Station, and their first lead of the game. Absolutely inhuman performance on that Ash.
We won that. He won that, Parker. I did not see that coming. He's swinging that corner, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm thinking, I'm sure everybody's thinking, Fultz is dead. He got 1 kill, though. That's pretty good. So solid contribution there from Fultz. He's going to die right after. No big deal. But then he wins it. That's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely in Fultz reactions moment. Now, it's going to be double bar for the next one, but let's quickly talk about that last site because there's a lot of things going on there. Thing number 1, most important, that was a really slow round. That was, wow. exceptionally slow from SSG. And the curious thing about that, the curious add to that is SSG didn't clear above. They didn't even make an effort to. They just set up outside and then took control of main lobby, collapsed through Sunrise, main lobby, and service entrance all at the same time with 10, 15 seconds left in the round, something like that. That was the extent of the strategy from SSG that I could see. And of course, there's probably more facets to it than I actually noticed, but wow, that was a really slow round with not a whole lot of action committed by SSG that I could actually see. In particular, again, the fact that they didn't clear out the top floor was pretty astounding. And yet, SSG wins it. I mean, wow, that's it. That's impressive stuff. The flank from Sunrise Bar was big from Faults, of course, and I think that was integral to the win there for SSG. They might not have been able to handle it after, if not for that. It might have come down to a 0-0 plant situation and maybe an advantage for TSM in the man count, and then suddenly they're denying the plant on 0-0 and TSM wins. But that's not what we saw because of Faults. So impressive stuff from him. Interesting round from SSG, and let's see if Faults can make some more magic happen as he starts to push in through service entrance, kind of brazenly facing his opponent on the other side of this reinforcement. Flash goes out, and that'll be a full blind, but the C4 to stop the rush. Here's the cross, though, and Faults wins the fight. There goes Geo. Refrag potential here for the Vigil, and he'll get it. That's Merc, who keeps things nice and even.
Former teammates on Organized Chaos, Merc and Faults had bright futures in Pro League, and they are living up to it. And Merc in particular now will win his second gunfight, this time on a Rampy. 2 people from SSG taken down by Merc, and all he exchanges is 55 HP. I don't think that's too bad. If he gets pushed from main lobby, he's got Achieved right behind him. As all this action occurring in the first half of the round, still plenty of time for Space Station to maybe accomplish something, but they're going to need another pick soon, as when you get down to those 20 seconds left, all the trades will, of course, favor the team with the advantage, and that at the moment is TSM.
Oh, Merc makes that cross, even though the information's in, but he dies somewhere else, maybe from service entrance. As, no, actually, it's the front door. Spray through the stock wall, through the wall. Impressive stuff. Merc goes down. So Space Station eventually do get revenge for their 2 fallen comrades.
There were a lot of drones used by Space Station there. I think we saw 3 of them in particular, from what we saw. 3 drones specifically, and what happens now? Well, you've got a Mozzie on the board still, so you might have lost other drones before that. The Vigil obviously will not be of impact because he's dead, but Achieved gets away scot-free from main lobby, and SSG were holding that angle, expecting him to still be there after that drone was shot. They could have capitalized on the fact that they had a second player from TSM within their sights, but they let them slip through.
Thanks to that Vigil ability that so much time was wasted, but honestly, SSG's been coming down to the wire every single one of these rounds, so it's not exactly going to be a surprise when you see a slow SSG attack based on what we've had so far. If SSG takes this, then that's a really solid lead coming out of the first half, but TSM could easily turn this into a 3-3.
You see Thinking Nate creeping on up to Bolo, so now TSM will trail in terms of man count. Pojo Man emerging through his own smoke. The mirror experiment failed on the last round. Pojo gets absolutely beheaded by Thinking Nate, and a slow peek. I don't know what they were thinking. Well, in this case, Thinking Nate obviously not living up to his namesake, achieved significant damage. Very winnable. Will he get the clutch? No! So close. So close. But just as Canadian comes off of that defuse, he'll keep it in check for his team. SSG, very impressive stuff. 4 rounds in a row against TSM.
That was an absolutely massive save by Troy. We cannot overstate how big that one little pre-fire on that corner was from Canadian. Managing to salvage the round and put SSG in a match-winning position, 4-2 out of the first half. That is big. The question is, can SSG repeat their success from attack now on defense as they switch to the second half? They'll be bringing a Mira the same as TSM. We'll see how that works for SSG. Maybe they do things a little bit differently. Now that last round, I need to commend Merc for putting up a heck of a fight, because his kill onto Rampy, the buck from above, was just round altering. That could right there have won the round for TSM. But then after that, Merc wasted a lot of time, ate up a lot of drones. He did a great job individually. But TSM's positioning was just odd. Like, really, really odd. To the extreme. and it left a lot of questions in my head as to what they were planning, what the goal was, and maybe it comes down to timing. Maybe it's just unlucky. But TSM were wrong time, wrong place, wrong everything in that last round. SSG constantly getting the better of their opponent to the point at which they had such a strong man lead in that 3v3 going into a 3v1 that, yeah, okay, almost a clutch, but not so, as Canadian was able to lock it up. You know, one more kill there from someone else early in the round, and that could have been a different result. We see a 3-3 here. Inhuman
reactions. Some would say in other esports.
Are we talking about the Fultz moment?
I mean, it was Canadian also flicking onto Achieved, and then also Achieved and what he was able to accomplish right before he got Canadian. They were.
That's why I said Fultz reactions. I didn't want to steal the Inhuman bit. I don't know.
Oh, Merc almost taking the head off of one of the members of SSG as he suffers some modest damage. Back onto drones, well, you see the head of what appears to be the Mozzie, actually, a Canadian holding that angle. Well, there goes the drone. So, Merc, you're inside a kitchen. You're going to have to get yourself out. Mute Jammers and Mozzie once again. And when we saw Space Station play Coastline before, because they have played it. They played it a couple weeks back, if I remember. They played it last week, didn't they? Merc picks up on Canadian, who just finds himself in a rough spot. Yes, SSG played Tempo Storm, and they abused the ever-living hell out of the Mute Mozzie combo.
It looks like we're having a much quicker attack here from TSM when you compare it to what we were seeing from SSG in the first half, because you can see they're already set up inside of the office, and they're ready to pounce. You've also got Merc by the kitchen. This is going to be a pincer movement attack strategy onto, well, just both of the bomb sites, to be honest.
Frag grenade goes in, but the ADS not cleared out. Some frustration from Achieved, as you can tell. Not happy with that one. Bosco taking some damage as Mira. That's basically what we're looking at right now. Nothing really changed.
Oh, that's big.
From Thinking Nade onto Merc. Down goes the Ash, and the most consistent player for TSM so far in this matchup, barring some heroics from Achieved. Another ADS will catch a frag grenade, this time from Geo. The Dokkaebi has frag grenades, a lot of people often forget. He sees the head of a body of Space Station, but inside of Sunrise can't really do all that much. Great shot from Achieved onto Rampy. That's just a missed opportunity inside of the double bars. Now TSM storms in. They find 3 kills for their trouble. Lion will go off. Bosco in a 1v3. He's in a bad spot. Phone call ringing away, and this should be an easy hold for TSM. Nitro Cell sails out, and Geo pushes in as it goes well over his head. Very first attacking round, and TSM proves to be successful.
So a couple big things were happening there. The nades, for example, on the mirror window. TSM used 2 stacks of nades to try and dislodge the player on the mirror window inside of Sofa. I'd say that's one of the most effective mirror windows we've seen so far through this match. The second thing is that Merc died inside of Kitchen. The reason why that was so huge is because it forced Achieve to rotate off of the main take from the office, all the way over to Kitchen to take up the position that Merc had lost. That position was crucial to the outcome of the round because having kitchen pressure prevents SSG from rotating safely and comfortably in the hallway. It also prevents them from rotating in Sunrise Bar and really just being comfortable in general on the site because you have to look at multiple angles when you don't know that kitchen is clear. They could have just, and by they I mean SSG, could have just focused exclusively on kitchen, or rather on this office in the blue bar had kitchen been dealt with throughout the entirety of the round. But the second crucial moment was actually against SSG. It was when Rampy lost the fight to Achieved. Achieved vaulted through the kitchen window as the buck. Rampy loses that one, and that right there was where TSM brought the round back.
Yeah, that was a tough loss watching that fight.
Yeah, and Rampy really should have won it. Let's not jump around that.
How much HP did the Buck have? 25?
At the end, something low.
I think the Buck had 25 after that fight.
He was about blinking, maybe blinking.
Yeah.
Whatever it was low HP there from Achieved. And it's a rough situation to be in when you lose one of those, because that's on Rampy, but that's not the extent of it too. There's one other thing I want to note before I end this. It's the mirror window. While it was really important to the outcome of the round, a lot of people on that mirror window died. We had like 2 people die on the mirror window trying to take fights with people in blue bar. TSM just brazenly peeking. It's like, oh yeah, I'll hold the angle. I'll take this fight. I don't care if you have peak disadvantage. I'll win it. And TSM they won it several times, in fact. So that's big for TSM.
I really like that we're seeing 2 teams with some incredible players on either side, and some of, honestly, the purest aimers in North America, and I would even argue in all of Pro League. Right now, if you were to include like a top 10 list of the players that you know, can take over and capitalize off of misplays and just have incredibly good mechanical skill, you're looking at Merc, you're looking at Fultz. You can probably put Rampy in that conversation.
Achieved, maybe.
Bolo would probably be in that conversation as well. And Merc,
Geo.
Speak of the devil, he takes out Bosco, down goes the smoke. That's a very tough operator to lose right away. However,
Bosco.
I really like that with the rosters that these two teams have, that we get to see this showmanship and gun skill on a map that is extremely frag heavy. I think it's very much living up to its billing so far, and TSM with that opening pick now have a better opportunity than they did seconds before to be able to tie this one up.
Yeah, you could argue that this map was made for these teams to play on, these two squads. This is about as good as it gets when it comes to teams on a matchup and the map suiting their play style. It really, well, highlighting, rather, their play style. And the cool thing about it is that neither of these teams actually like this map according to their records. So that's really, you know, it's an interesting little thing to know. It's like it's not going to be a dominant situation. TSM, though, are dominant in this round, as it is a 2v5. And as I noted earlier in the last round, TSM's attacks are just so much more, so much faster. SSG is dying so early on, and there's another death for SSG. No response. Rampy dead. It's a flawless round. Bolo, a long angle through the breach that was made by the defenders.
It's at a 4K for Bolo as well, from what I...
Really?
Well, Merc got the very first kill, and then Bolo got every single one after that, unless I missed something.
Well, yeah, I mean, you might be right. I didn't see.
Sometimes my brain is not as strong as I want it to be. Merc had 2, so it was a 3K. 3K. Okay. Merc had 2, so I must have thought that it was just another kill. But anyway,
4-4 now.
I mean, it's a Coastline way of playing, right?
Yeah.
It's a Coastline way of playing is that you know, for a long period of time, this was the one map where the attackers were often doing better than the defenders, and that for the defenders, it was really tough to be good at what you do. There's no way around it.
I mean, we see about an even win-loss ratio, right? Mm-hmm. But in the first half, it was 4 attack wins. And so far in the second half, it's 2 attack wins. So we might just see this be a strongly attacker-favored match due to the teams and how they match up against each other. Like that's a totally realistic possibility. You should note that the macro, you know, that statistic that says, oh, this percentage of attack wins, this percentage of defense wins on the map overall, is not necessarily indicative of how 2 teams are going to match up against each other, especially when you have teams like SSG and TSM, which are so, I guess, so particularly talented and have a play style that I think really adheres differently to this map than other teams might. It's you know, it's a difference in the matchup. It's not something you can just take for granted. But yeah, I mean, right now it's definitely an attacker-favored map. We haven't seen a defensive win since TSM in round number 2, and we're right now in round number 9. So that's also worth keeping in mind.
Bomb located by attacker.
A lot that can still happen here between these two teams. It definitely feels like a draw right now, unless TSM keep up this pace, which they look to be starting off to a rapid-fire pace when they were on defense before falling off and allowing SSG to capitalize. They had a slow start. There's going to go the first logic bomb, and upon that, a frag grenade, another opening pick for TSM. Bolo, I don't know if you were supposed to do that, but okay. You sacrificed Merc. Blood for the Blood Gods. He'll take out Thinking Nade. It's an absolute calamity. It's now achieved in a 1v2. They get the opening pick, but then things go from bad to worse. Soft destruction for Achieved. He's going to narrowly miss the member of Space Station as he walks in. He'll have to grab the diffuser as well. Patience from both Rampy and Fultz. Probably your 2 best bets for SSG in the dying moments of a round.
Oh, this plant attempt might go actually unhindered from Achieved. No. He comes off the stick. He could have stuck that, but he doesn't know it. 1v1 for Achieved. Now it's Rampy versus Achieved. That's way too much time for Achieved to have to worry about anything other than information. He's going to drone for his opponent, set it up for his teammates to watch and cover. It was a little bit of a risk, but he's clearly read that SSG is not going to get aggressive in this situation. Now he can plant safely with full information.
And there's nobody from SSG except for maybe a bulletproof camera that you can expect to be able to find this one. Diffuser goes down and Rampy knows that it's go time, and Achieved with a miraculous clutch. He plays that one perfectly in a 1v2, and he bails out the rest of his teammates who had fallen before him. The lead goes back into the hands of TSM, and they're up 5-4.
TSM's on it. They are absolutely on it. Achieved having a really, really big round there, of course, with the opening frag and the final 2 frags. But more than that, TSM is confidently taking into the site. They are not worried about anything. You can tell by the way that they're playing. TSM, that round, what did they do? They droned their way in through Sunrise Bar up to Kitchen Door. They droned their way in through Service Entrance, and then they stacked up, waited for the go call, and when it was out there, when the go call came, everybody went. They entered the site. They won the fights. Period. I mean, yeah, sure, TSM lost some fights, but the confidence that TSM has in their teammates to recover the round if they as an individual lose a fight is astounding. I don't often see teams play like that. And I know what that feels like when you have the utmost confidence in your squad. When you know that, hey, I'm going to make this play, I'm going to make this push because I know that it's what needs to happen, and I know that if I fail in this, then the guy sitting next to me is going to be able to recover things. That's exactly what we just witnessed. And when you have achieved, pick up those 1v2 clutches and win it, and prove your beliefs right, it reinforces that and builds more confidence. TSM are in stride.
So one thing that I think is worth asking about was Fultz was not aware of the position of the Buck, and then Fultz goes down in main lobby. Rampy is playing by the door from Kitchen over to Sunrise, and the call must have been made. Buck is inside a bathroom, Buck is over by service, but Rampy doesn't move. Why do you think that is? There was plenty of time for the Buck to be able to pull and execute off. It's not like you had the clock on your side. There was 1 minute and 30 seconds left with Achieved holding that diffuser, and he had complete control of the site. What was the reluctance for Rampy to actually take any kind of engagement there? Do you think that he was assuming that Achieved would have taken the fight to him?
So there's 2 things for me. Thing number 1, I think it's a lack of confidence. I think it's that he was worried about maybe losing the fight, which is fair because of thing number 2. He's got a Scorpion. And at a long-range fight, you just are not beating a C8. And he knew that if he wanted to push in through Kitchen, he would have had to contest with the Buck, who could have held a long angle from Service Entrance to Kitchen Door. So, yeah, Rampy's just playing it safe. He's playing it safe. He doesn't want to lose the round. Poor coordination with his teammate, sure, but I can totally, very easily put myself in Rampy's shoes and say I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm not confident I'm going to be able to win at that distance. I don't want to even put myself in a position to have to test that theory. I'm just going to try and play this off the diffuser and off the plant. The problem is that they allowed it themselves to get into 2 1v1s. Anyway, lots of action going on here. Merc's going to get Bosco, who is out in the open waiting to die. And TSM, on the precipice of match point, might have just solidified it.
TSM have done an excellent job of finding the holes in the defense that Space Station have, which, of course, there appear to be quite a few, and then take advantage of them. There's another for Merc, as he's heating up. He saw double digits for Achieved. Merc will get 2 kills for his trouble. Fultz manages to break him down, but Bolo has his teammates back, and they are avenging each other as, oh my god, everybody's dead! All right, TSM have mastered these executes beautifully, and they got match point. Space Station, you have to fight for a draw. That's all you're going to be able to get.
Okay, I want to be clear about one thing. First half, SSG looked great. Very slow on their attacks. Very slow, but you can attribute that to just them simply being methodical, right? They want to be thorough. Fine. Second half, they look terrible. Absolutely terrible. So one thing that happened there is Merc got 2 kills out of Kitchen onto Sunrise Bar. I want to stress this point because I think it's really important. I know a lot of players are probably watching right now going, what the heck is happening? Because Bosco was standing in the middle of Sunrise Bar, completely exposed to Kitchen. And there was no hold from SSG in Kitchen. What is going on? Like, if you're not going to hold Kitchen as on a double bar defense, then don't play in a position exposed to Kitchen. If you're Bosco, just like, don't put yourself there. I don't understand what he was thinking. There was another pick that Merc managed to get from Kitchen as he pushed up on the Kitchen doorway before being finished off by Fultz. But the story there, the extent of it is, SSG, and you put it really well when it was happening, SSG are leaving glaring holes in their defense. TSM is squinting and going, wow, oh, okay, we'll deal with it. And then it's easy. Because it's so they're being broadcasted, these issues. A typical thing to do on a double bar defense is put some amount of effort into holding Kitchen Service Entrance. That way, you don't get cut off in the middle of Sunrise Bar. You don't have to do it, but if you do not do that, then do not leave yourself exposed to Kitchen. I don't know. It's odd. It's odd what we're seeing from SSG. We're going to Kitchen now, the actual bomb site. And now that SSG is positioned in this in the site, maybe they'll have some different outcome. But this is their third time defending Kitchen, and they haven't been successful yet.
The crazy thing is that when we swapped sides, and it was a 4-2 with SSG in full control, as you'd mentioned, they picked up steam and they did look much better on attack than they did on defense, right?
Yeah.
They did. They looked really good. Pojoman had 0 kills. He was playing Mira mostly, and then he switched on to the smoke. He's only picked up 1 kill so far. Now, his gadget work has been fine, but you're winning against Space Station, essentially a 4v5 in gun skill.
Yeah.
And Merc is a big part of that. Achieved is a big part of that. These gentlemen are walking in and they're getting the lion's share, pardon the pun, of the opening picks, and they're usually getting 2 of them. And well, how about another?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, he'll get it with the Ash Charge unless that gets ADS, but no, there you go. Pulse goes down.
That is a huge blow as well. And if you look at the statistics so far, of the 11 rounds, 8 opening picks for TSM, and this particular half, every single opening pick has been theirs. Now, there's an answer back from SSG. They managed to get 1. Achieved is under fire, almost a second for SSG, but you've got so much work to do. You've still got Merc alive. Bolo's been sacrificed, but that's been it. Half the round to go.
Bolo has also been one of those driving forces for TSM. That is a really long angle by Rampy. In case you guys missed it, that was all the way from Hookah into Penthouse. That's pretty crazy. Or not Hookah, sorry, Billiards into Penthouse and Hookah. He can do it from both. It's crazy.
Very long line. Merc wins the fight against Rampy. SSG just failing to hit their shots. What have you fed Merc this morning? The boy ate his Wheaties, apparently.
He's hitting these shots with hollow. That is a really long fight. That's one of the longer angle fights that you can get on this map, and Merc is winning it against an ACOG.
And he is fearless. It's been talked about how SSG is abusing the Mute Mozzie meta. And how do you beat it if you're Merc? You just walk right in and they feed themselves to you. Pojoman picks up kill number 2. Merc looking for the dagger into the hearts of Space Station. Stacked up as SSG. He looks away for just a second, but there it is. Easily shut down. Nice try, Space Station, but TSM were in full control. They pick up yet another victory. They're 5-1 on the season. No team has been able to take them down yet.
So I want to be really clear and blunt and just obvious about what happened there. SSG got out-talented. Now, that could come down to a lot of different factors. It could come down to just the overall talent of the players, which is less likely, because that is the sort of thing that is put on display in a variety of different ways through the match. More likely, SSG was having an off day, TSM were having an on day, and we saw that fully represented. Even in the first half, yeah, SSG's looking good. 4-2, we talked about it. That's a good position to be if you're SSG, but oh my gosh, all of those rounds came down in the last 20 seconds. Second half, TSM just bulldozing their way into the building and then absolutely destroying SSG in every single gunfight, it seemed.
Yeah. You had achieved being the star of the show for TSM through the first half, with Merc being a little bit behind him, and then Merc absolutely taking off in the second half. He's going to have 79 kills on the season already. Through 6 play days, 79 kills is a very impressively high number. He's breaking double digits almost every single match in that case, if not every single match. I mean, I'd have to go back and actually see every single one, but in this case, 15 kills, not bad for a young boy, a growing boy, if we want to call him that.
He's got to eat his kills. He's got to get nice, grow up nice and strong.
He ate his Wheaties, and he's getting nice and strong. So, but man, TSM, they go from not playing this map at all. It was their one ban. It was the only piece of consistency when you looked at their map bans. They did not want to play Coastline. They bring it out in spectacular fashion against a pretty good Coastline team, against Space Station, and they made Space Station look weak in that second half. Very, very weak. Space Station obviously had issues with their defense. We noted it.
Yep.
But TSM exploited them perfectly.
We saw a couple things in particular from SSG in the second half that were pretty bad, but let's just talk to TSM and see what they think about the actual result.
Hello, Gio. Nice to see you. I think this
Nice to see you too.
I think this is the first time I've interviewed you, so that's quite a treat. Is it cold in there? You're wearing a beanie inside.
The temperature's pretty cold, but yeah.
Yeah. First and foremost, congratulations. The first question is just going to simply involve the map. You've not played Coastline. You've only played 3 maps, actually, rotating 2 of them. Was it a deliberate strategy to withhold Coastline, or is it just the way that the bans worked out where you just wanted to insta-ban them against better teams?
I think we have a deep map pool, and I think we just obviously knew we were going to. It was either coast or border, we thought. So obviously we thought in coast we had a better chance. So that's where we ended up going.
Now, against a team like Space Station, which there's been much Twitter chatter over the last week and a bit about how Space Station was the abusers, the primary abusers of the Mute and Mozzie meta. They ran those operators quite consistently, but it didn't really seem to slow you down. What was the plan heading into your attacks?
For our attacks, we basically just focused on aggression. So I don't know if, I mean, I was just doing my part, but so I don't know where about around the map, but we were just pushing everything with the Dokkaebi calls, Lions, Merc, and Chieved and Bull. Basically just spearheaded everything.
Were you worried at all when you saw that Space Station started to come back on their attacks after you took the first 2 defensive rounds but then lost the next 4, or was it just steady course?
No, I mean, Coast is an attack center map. Honestly, we got 2 and we said, oh, we won. So that's basically it.
Now, with the aggression that you see, what do you do to empower a player like Merc? Because right now he's sitting at 79 kills. He has the most kills of anybody in Pro League at the moment, which he's actually now almost 20 kills. I think he's 20 kills above Aces at 59 for second. How do you empower a player like that? Do you have a dedicated role like somebody like Pojo Man to help guide him in, or is it more of his own innate talent?
Honestly, he's just the GOAT, to be honest. And we are the way our team works. Like I said, we use our 3 spearheads correctly. So me and Poe just drone, whatever we can. Lions, Dokkaebi calls drones to help out, so they can just run in the map and kill everything. To be honest.
What do you think your biggest contribution personally has been to the team? Because TSM struggled in terms of consistency in best of ones last season. You come onto this roster and you guys are world beaters. You're sitting at 5-1. You got one more game left ahead of you.
I mean, to be honest, I'm just a piece of the puzzle. Like I said, I'm just doing my job. If anything, we're just all working together and meshing well, and I'm just happy to be here.
I'm just happy to be here, as they all say. It's the final question of the interview. Anything to say to the fans, etc.?
Thanks to everyone that supported us, and hopefully we end this half strong against ZZ.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have Dark Zero, who haven't lost a match in Online Pro League in quite a while. So, tall task ahead of you, but congratulations again. It was nice talking to you, Gio.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.